Hi everyone, today I just want to make a video about relapsing because it's a issue that I see all the time on YouTube comments, and I think it's a big part of your journey, the poisonous word and the kind of detrimental word to yourself, the relapse, and I think it's just got so much weight under it, and I just want to make this hopefully short video about just telling you that, it's not the end of the world, we all go through it. And when I'd originally stopped drinking the first time from 2017 to 2022, I wouldn't really call it a relapse, or maybe you can. I had this vision where I could have a couple of drinks and then, that would be me, and I would be this kind of social drinker that many of my friends actually are today, people that can just come in, have one or two, and then they go home. Whereas me, it was always kind of 0 or 10, I guess, like many kind of typical quintessential British binge drinkers, I call them, just the way we were, and probably, and definitely still are. And I remember in 2022, it was after COVID as well, so maybe that had a thing to do with it, stuck in the house a lot, not really out for 3 years. It's just surreal looking back. And after that, I remember one day having visions of me being able to kind of go to parties and just take a 6-pack and maybe sit there until 9 o'clock and then call it a day. And in the beginning, and I think I found just by watching other people's video, I think this is quite common, where in the beginning it actually works, People just maybe turn up, they have 3 or 4 and they go, right, that's me. And I've no idea why it kind of works in the beginning. And, I did that, I think, for a good couple of months, where I would just go out for a pint, meet a few friends, and I'd be, right, I'm calling it a day. And I just thought I'd absolutely smashed it. I thought, this is brilliant. And then maybe I'll have a few nights out as well. And then before you know it, I was out on a few nights out, a Saturday night here, a Friday night there. And they just slowly kind of got into being Friday, Saturday nights, and I would never drink on school nights, as you call it, on work nights, or when you're working the next day. But at the weekends, before you knew it, I think it was only about 6 months, I was out kind of basically most Friday, Saturday nights, or at least kind of having, around at friends' flats and houses, just having, beers, and that would turn into a full session. And you quickly just end up getting into that old routine again. And, there is a feeling that I think everybody's had when the realization hits you that you're back into old habits. And maybe that's why it takes so long. Maybe because I always talk about, and, it's the guy Kevin O'Hara is really good at it, at Habits V2, just talking about how it's so habitual drinking, it's just a habit, like you used to, if you smoked when you were younger, just always having that cigarette in your hand in the pub, or you would used to have, like, one on the way to work, one before you logged on, one before lunch, one after lunch, one at 2 o'clock, one on the way home. That was kind of, it was just a real big habit. And it's like that with the booze. You come home and you're used to having a glass in your hand, maybe, or you're used to stopping off at the shop, at the liquor store, wherever, on the way home from work. That's just your routine, and it's really kind of breaking that habit. But like I say, it's just become this really, not a dirty word, but you know what I mean. It's just a word that you call yourself, where it just really beats you up. And it's funny, because the one thing that I learned from my kind of, quitting for 5 years and then kind of getting back into bad habits again, and now I'm alcohol free again since July of this year. So it must be a good four months, I think. I'm into it, maybe a bit less, but, and that's me kind of off it for good, for sure. But one of the things you need to kind of, I wish I'd kind of told myself, especially if you only have one, if you have that kind of one relapse day and you're still really focused on it, is just remember that it's only one day that it happened. It's kind of crazy that we would beat ourselves up for, drinking one day out of 273 days, or one day out of 24 days. I mean, the way I look at it now is, you should be patting yourself on the back that you only drunk one day out of all these days, which is an amazing achievement. But we somehow seem to be obsessed with this days in a row thing. And the days in a row thing only really seems to be applicable for stuff like if you're quitting alcohol, if you're quitting substances, if you're quitting smoking, for example. That seems to be the kind of thing that you do. And the worst part about that is when you do maybe have one drink, you feel like the last X amount of days was a waste of time when it's not. You know, you learn a lot on that journey. And like I say, you've only drunk one day out of, you know, a couple of hundred days maybe. And if you look at other things you do in your life, it's not applicable there and it doesn't affect you. Like when I went to university, if I missed one lecture, I didn't just quit university. I didn't think, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this lecture. I'm done, you know. That would never happen. And look about when you go to the gym. I mean, you might go to the gym 3 nights a week, but maybe one day your friend popped over and you didn't go, but you don't then just go, right, I've been going to the gym for 7 months. My friend came over, I missed my yoga session, I'm done. I've quit the gym, I'm phoning them up tomorrow. You don't do that, but somehow when we're on the booze and other substances and tobacco, etc., we beat ourselves up and just go on this mad kind of self-destruction mode, and using that word relapse, I relapsed again, when we shouldn't do it, because we don't apply that to other things in our life and we shouldn't be applying it to here. So just, you know, if you do, like say, if you do relapse, just take the lessons learned from why you did it. And there'll be maybe a reason why you did it. Maybe you went to a party and you didn't have your cover story straight. You know, so if you did do that and you went there and you turned up and then everyone's like, oh, you want a drink? We want a drink. And then you ended up buckling. You know what, next time, now that you're back on your alcohol-free journey, the lesson learned in that would be go there, maybe text a few of your friends before saying, listen, I'm doing a 30-day challenge. I'll be on the Diet Cokes tonight and I'm driving. So take your car there, tell them beforehand that you're not drinking, even maybe tell them that, you know, a nice white lie that, you know, you've got tablets from the doctor and you're not allowed to drink. No one will question that, and that will get you through it. And if you maybe relapse because you came home on a Friday night and you ended up drinking because you opened up the fridge and there was still beers in there, get rid of those beers. So make sure this Friday when you go home, there's absolutely nothing in the flat. And you might not succeed this time. Again, there might be a situation where you called for, you know, there was a stressful situation, but, you know, next time if you get into a stressful situation, just have a backup plan, like, you know, phone a really good friend of yours for a chat, go out for a walk, you know, have a really good movie ready that you've not seen yet and you're just kind of holding off watching it until you have maybe a bit of anxiety about drinking, where you kind of just go, you know, I need to do something. So like I say, just take the lesson learned from it and you'll get forward. But like I say, just ultimately don't beat yourself up just because you drunk one day out of X amount. I think I honestly must have taken 100 attempts to finally nail it. But like I say, as long as you're taking a lesson learned from the last time and implement it, it'll slowly get better and better. And, you know, before you know it, you'll be months and months in, and you'll be at the stage where I am now, where alcohol is just like a hobby I used to do. And I don't even think about it anymore. It's just a non-event in my life. I can walk into a shop, a supermarket, you know, I could go next door and there'd be a big party on and people would be offering me, you know, cocktails and everything. I wouldn't even be remotely interested in having a drink, and you'll get there in the end. I'm 100% sure you will. Anyway, thanks for watching another video. Please like and subscribe as well, especially subscribing really helps the channel, and also leave a comment and hype the channel if you can. Although it's quite a small channel, I don't even know if you can hype it at this size, but who knows. Anyway, have a good one, and yeah, send me a message or you know, leave a comment if you need any help or advice or want to know kind of anything more about literally anything, and I'll check them every day, so I'll get back to you pretty quickly. Anyway, take care, have a good one. Thank you, bye.